So whenever there's a chicken behind me, like this one, that means that I have a really big rumor that I can't talk about. So it's it's a little inside information for everybody. I can't talk about this rumor yet. Something very big. So whenever you see a chicken there, don't ask. Just know that there's something very big that's coming. But I can't discuss it. That'll be my.
That's pretty.
So if I'm not going to say it, and I can't say it. not going to say what I was calling this before the show. But let's just leave it there. We're joining Russ today for breakfast with Russ.
Yes, I'm at my retirement home.
Yes, you look at in your retirement home. Your hand your forced perspective makes your hand look like it's huge. The way
I'm moving it.
There you go.
Okay.
That's all good. And then Mike is frozen solid. Mike, there's Ty.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, Ty.
What's going on?
Not much. We just went live.
Awesome. I'm in time. Thank you, Boston traffic.
Yeah, no problem. No, we just held off because Russ just got here. Mike is, I guess, going to come back in probably in a second. I brought my chicken today because it's good to have a chicken. This metal chicken, it cheers us up in this house for some reason. Like if ever anyone's down, I will put this in the weirdest places I can find. Like I put it in the bathroom yesterday, or in the shower yesterday when my wife was going to take a shower. It was in there before her, that kind of thing. So the chicken is like to cheers up, and like I said before, but what it means with the HockeyBuzzCast, it means there's a big rumor that I can't talk about, but hopefully can by the end of the show. So that's what it's going to mean. But now, whenever you see the chicken behind me, that's what it means.
Can you see? Can you
Rob.
see?
Yeah, we can see you now, Mike, too.
Okay, good.
Oh, Russ, I have a question. Hold on.
Uh-oh.
This is bad. This is going to be bad.
Yeah, I'm waiting for.
So I found these at the local comic shop, and I assume they're worth millions. But I need to verify with you how much a pack of ALF trading cards would be worth.
Actually, you know, I will tell you this: the
awesome.
entertainment cards are generally worth more than the sports cards because they weren't made in the same regularity like a big print run. So actually, a sealed pack of ALF could, you know, I don't know the price offhand, but I'm telling you, it could go from $20 to like $100.
What about the bubble gum that's inside of it that's almost 30 years old? Should I eat that?
No.
No, Dan actually.
Don't
No, they
open
had
it.
a few packs. I want to buy another one just so I can open it and see what's actually in it.
Did you ever hear the story behind the show ALF? Apparently, I didn't watch it too much, but it was sort of similar where there was a father character in there and kids, and ALF was part of the family.
Yeah.
The father character in ALF was some guy who had some abuse problems through his life and apparently got fired from the show after they found him in the studio beating up ALF, beating up the puppet, actually pounding it into submission. He had lost his cool and he started beating on the puppet.
What would you say this when I have a puppet on the show with me today?
There you go.
He's scaring my little buddy here. He's terrified now. He's like, shaking in his boots.
But if press charges, why would they bother?
I don't know. No. All I know is he got fired from the show. Apparently.
I bet.
Treasure.
I bet they may not have found him guilty, but I bet they did find he had a hand in things.
Where's the drum? Where's the rim shot?
All right. No, if I asphyxiate myself at all throughout the show, I painted the other room today. So I just opened the windows because I started seeing colors and feeling like I was the lizard queen. So so I'm the lizard king, I guess is a better word to use. Sorry.
Well, but was a lizard king, Jim Morrison, and you're not that. So
no, I started to feel like it because the fumes in the other room. I painted we have a projector. In the room there I watch TV. We just project onto a big wall, and that wall is kind of dirty and it wasn't making our picture the greatest. So I went and I did some research online and found this. They sell projector paint that you can paint onto the wall that makes it like a screen. That paint is like $400 a gallon. I did some research and found like the Sherwin-Williams makes exactly the same kind of paint. They just don't call it that for $30 a gallon. So I went out and I got that and I painted the other room.
You get low VOC so you don't feel high when you paint, so it doesn't have that many fumes.
Right now I feel like I should go in there and watch like The Wall or something. But because it would definitely make us be very trippy. But it's
Or listen to Dark Side of the Moon while you're watching.
a surprise for my wife. And the thing is this, like, I should never do that kind of thing. Like, I always think this is a good idea, and chances are she'll come home and she'll either hate it, or she'll come home and she'll be like, it stinks in here, or she'll just, or I will totally, like, I'm so nervous of, like, I'm the kind of guy who will step in the paint and just go, like, all over the house, or one of the dogs will just walk through the paint thing and walk all over the house. That's possible. So somehow I managed to get through this without any disasters.
Yet.
I'm going to do the second coat after the show, but we'll see after that. We'll find out. All right, let's start. March 10th, Thursday. Things are crazy in here. The puppet is my son's birthday party is tomorrow, so like I have to entertain 12 boys for the sleepover party. So we're doing a big Star Wars making our own puppets because my son wants to be Jim Henson. That's who his idol is. So we actually made that puppet I was showing you there. It's pretty cool. So we've been sewing. I've learned how to work my sewing machine again. And the life of the hockey writer never ends. So anyway, just to let you know, I am.
Great reveals, by the way. Thank you.
Oh, no problem. Yeah, I like to share a little bit about my life. Like the other night, I went to the show, the Brian Fallon show, Ty, which I sent you a video of, and it was really good. Brian Fallon's the guy from Gaslight Anthem. He didn't do any Gaslight Anthem songs. I guess I should have been surprised, but that is the difference between like this generation and generations before. Like when solo people went out, they would actually do some songs from their.
Peter Gabriel never did Genesis songs.
No, that's true, but usually they would. Usually, like I went to see. Like I'm a big fan of Something Corporate. I went to see the guy from that. He did no songs from Something Corporate. Brian Fallon did no songs from Gaslight Anthem, but he was really good. But the Gaslight Anthem crowd is really funny. I know Ty's a fan of them too, and it's funny because I didn't even know what was happening with them, so I just texted Ty like last week, "What's going on?" We had tickets for Gaslight Anthem in April, and they just told us they're not coming. The show was sold out, and the show was canceled. Ty tells me, the guy's gone solo, and the band apparently is burned out or whatever. So I listened to his stuff. I'm like, it's cool. I checked it out. Went to the show. So like 72 hours later, I'm like, I'm at a Brian Fallon concert. Thanks to Ty. It's pretty good. So, but the funny thing about that crowd is, and you've seen Gaslight Anthem, so you know this, is that that's like half of these younger people like yourself, and then another not half, but like maybe 3/4 people like you. And then there's like 25% of people like me who are like Springsteen fans who are into him.
Yeah.
There's this older crowd that's like there that found him like through I found him through Springsteen because Springsteen's a big fan of his and he would bring him up on stage with him. And so he did Atlantic City, the Springsteen song. So you saw the 25% of the people who were in there that were into him. Like suddenly, like everyone's like, yeah, and all the hipsters are like,
full Springsteen. I'm sorry, it is.
But Atlantic City, but I mean, the guy's from the Jersey Shore and he's in Philadelphia, so that song was perfect.
It's horrible.
What was that?
It's a horrible Springsteen song.
Man.
Wait a second. No, let's straighten that out. Every song by Springsteen is horrible.
No.
You're clueless, Mike. I was once like you. Believe me, I was a stuck-up, snobby prog rock guy like you. But then I got married and was, after going involuntarily to 60 or 70 Springsteen shows, became a
fan out of self-defense is what happened.
You couldn't help but admire the guy after going to that many concerts.
So, in the top 100 Springsteen songs, where would you put Atlantic City? I would put it at 101.
God, you're crazy. What do you mean? Why? Atlantic City is a great friggin' song. What is wrong with Atlantic City? It's a great song.
It's dull, it's boring, it's brooding, it's not even the best of Springsteen. It's a horrible production. That whole album was a horrible production.
Well, now you're just talking nonsense. All right, anyway, we'll just move on. No, I mean, I wouldn't put it in my top 10, but it is definitely in my top 20, put it that way.
Okay.
It's not like Jungle Land or something like that. Like, I think it's an amazing song. Even Mike, even a prog rocker like you must like Jungle Land.
I honestly, there's not many Not many Springsteen songs other than the hits that
There's
I really.
not a whole lot of hockey talk about today. Sorry, guys. We will start here. We will start the show.
What's wrong with you?
Ty, are you a Springsteen fan at all?
I am. I couldn't give you a list of 20 of my top. I couldn't give you like a top 20 like you have, but I do listen to it.
Have you ever seen him?
No, I tried one when it was at Fenway, but it was just the demand was insane, and I didn't want to pay $200 to sit out behind a pole.
Yeah, I got Mike into a concert, so I'm going to get you into a Springsteen concert, Tyler.
Okay.
Yes, but there's a difference. He got me into Paul McCartney.
Yeah.
To some people, Springsteen is Paul McCartney. You know, like he's like.
Well, those people have.
To the state of New Jersey.
To the state of New Jersey. Right, I mean, that's true. But I mean, listen, I mean, the guy. There's one thing I'll say about him, and I at first didn't get it. I really didn't get it, and I'm not. I understand where you are, Mike, but I didn't get it for a while. But I'm telling you what, the guy's 65 years old.
Yeah.
He is literally he literally has not aged. He's insane with that. I mean,
I give him all the credit for his endurance, for his his stamina.
Just kill it. Just kill it.
I went to Coldplay and they played like 80 minutes, right? I went to Springsteen, he played 3.5 hours. So just like it's just like there's like insanity. 3.5 hours of Springsteen people are like, oh my god, that's horrible. But no, he literally does make big arenas small. There aren't many bands that can do that, but he does.
He does.
He makes U2 does that too, but that's another old band.
Let's please start.
Let's start the show. Thursday, March 10th. Thanks for hanging with us, Ty, this long. As we talk about the bands from times before you even existed. Here we go. Thursday, March 10th. Hello, Hockey World. It's Thursday, the 10th of March, 2016.
I think we got the date right. I'm Michael Agello.
I'm Russ Cohen from Sportsology.
And I'm Ty Anderson.
And wow, that's just craziness. The orders, everything's wacky today. And I'm Eckley, and you're watching HockeyBuzzCast on HockeyBuzz.com. This is the podcast that comes to you every afternoon, Monday through Friday, to sort of fill you in on what's going on, the comings and the goings. And we're about to get a verdict to see if the 20-game suspension, will be shortened. He sat out 19 games, just so you know. So if it's shortened, it'll be shortened by a game. I mean, This is really about the money now.
Yeah, of course it's about the money. Can I just say that the NHL has handled this situation ridiculously? It's an embarrassment. You cannot.
No, I don't disagree. And here's the funny thing about it. Check this out. So you can take any suspension over 6 games to an arbitrator.
Right.
This one they couldn't do this one. Look how long this one. I mean, there's no way that's going to help you as far as getting back on the ice. I mean, you might get money back.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. And the NHL has handled this in a ridiculous fashion. You're talking about justice it should have been justice in a more timely manner than was done here. So even if the suspension is knocked down, all he's going to get back is money. He might have been somebody who would have been traded at the deadline, but this adjudication that took so long to unfold prevented that from happening. I mean, this is really a cluster F for the NHL. It's an embarrassment.
Oh yeah. You're absolutely right. It really is. And I don't know. I don't get it. But it really has gotten to the point where it feels pointless to talk about. So I'm sorry if you brought it up. But
well, no.
Go ahead.
Russ, don't you think that this is the NHL's way of? I think with the officials, showing them that we support you. One way or the other, they were going to have Weidman miss all these games. If the money is inconsequential, but the penalty that was laid out originally, they wanted him to serve that, and that's why this thing has been strung out so much.
Yeah, there's no question. They did this for the refs. They will probably have to award him back some money. He'll probably get like 10-game suspension, like I said all along, and then he'll get the money back for it. But it did hamstring Calgary because they could have made a move with him, and it put him in limbo. So in a way, by putting him on ice like this, it shows that there could be a better way or a better system because you almost should have. It has to be quicker to get to the arbitrator. It does. It can't take this long. Like, I understand law takes a long time, but if this is what it's going to be, then just get an arbitrator who's not tried up in the legal system but has a law degree who can make a quick decision like Judge Judy.
Yeah.
They get a half-hour-long TV show on the NHL Network too, because they.
Oh yeah. Imagine how exciting that would be. Led by the likes of Brendan Shanahan and people like just.
But can the third-party arbitrator berate berate Weidman in the NHL like Judge Judy does? I'm not so sure, but.
I know. All right, so I got to show you something. This is the scariest thing I've ever seen. Did you see this check that took place? This cross check from Sweden yesterday?
I didn't.
Oh my gosh, this is crazy. So the HK, I guess, Naka HK is a team, right? And then there's another team called Balsta HC. So I don't know. One of them is the guy who's getting checked is Latouche Gavan, who's a Canadian, and then the guy who's hitting him is Victor Thomason. I don't know if he sounds Russian because it's Victor, like spelled like a Victor, but check this out. This is crazy. It might be the dirtiest play I've ever seen. All right, here it comes. Ready? So what happens is you'll see a hit first of all. That guy gets hit, right? So he's on the ice now. Watch this.
Ooh.
All right, I will keep talking so he can stay on me. But check this. So I'm gonna go back for a second. So here you go. So this is the initial play. Apparently this is his brother. The guy who hit his brother went flying. Like he thought it was knee to knee, but then he comes in right here and just pushed it onto the ice.
Oh my
He was
God.
quicker than the Canadian dollar.
That is like that is crazy. I mean, we think we have problems in the NHL.
That was extremely dirty. Oh, jeez.
What the hell was that? Thank you, Yahoo.
That was a pig in a Oh, never mind.
I don't know what that was, but unfortunately, I got off it quickly. Okay, stop.
Russ, the dirtiest play that I've ever seen, maybe in the history of the NHL, was the Chris Simon. The Chris Simon swing on Ryan Holwig.
Yeah, that was bad.
I mean, if you remember that.
Oh yeah, no, I remember that. Yeah, for sure.
The baseball swing right across the face of Ryan Holwig.
Right. After that, this doesn't look so bad. Landeskog, I guess he's going to get a hearing about this, but
that's
pretty bad.
That's like Bufflin last year. That's like but he had the guy down on the ice and he put the stick to him.
Yeah.
Have something like the Hits Hall of Fame or the Hall of Shame, because like every week we're having to talk about like the one dirty
cycles, man. It's like I agree with you, but it seems like since the guy goes after the ref, I can't think of his name right now. Sorry.
Dennis Weidman.
Thank you. I'm sorry. The fumes in the other room. Since Dennis Weidman goes after the ref, we've had like a slew of these things. It's just a ton. Where we went a lot of the year without talking about suspensions. I don't want to keep talking about them, but I just wanted to.
Well, I wanted to ask Ty about one because I had only heard about John Michael Lyles with Kucherov, and they came out today and said that wasn't that he wasn't going to get penalized for it. In your book, was that a really bad hit, or what did you think?
I mean, I didn't think it was suspendable. But then again, my entire view of this whole thing is out of whack now. Ovechkin boards Miller. Miller gets very hurt, and there's no hearing for that at all. Lyles, he elbows Kucherov. Kucherov stays in the game. He returns. He's fine. And there's a hearing for it. So the whole system is so confusing to me because we're supposed to take injuries into account, but we're not at the same time.
Yeah.
So it's bizarre how it all works.
Yeah.
But watching that, I just felt that was game speed, sort of thing where that was really a physical game. If you watch that, there are a lot of big hits. That one, I think, does cross a line, no doubt. I mean, it is an elbow to the head. But I don't know if that's John Michael Lyles trying to send an elbow to the head or if that's just the speed of the game is catching up to him. So I didn't think it was suspendable. I thought maybe it would be worth a fine. But I didn't walk away from that saying that's malicious. I don't think Lyles has a history.
No.
And it's not like I don't think it has the intent of like a cross check or something along those lines where the player is 100% in control of their stick and their body.
Yeah, and in fact, he has a history of being on the receiving end because he had concussion problems after Paul Gostad of the Sabres hit him in the head. He missed like almost half a season. But I mean, you mentioned Ovechkin. Well, of course Ovechkin's not going to get suspended because he's Ovechkin. This goes along with what's happened with him over the last 5 years. Any other player who does stuff that Alex Ovechkin does get suspended. But if it's Alex Ovechkin or the star player, they get away with it, and that's one of the.
He didn't get fully away with it. He did get a match and he got tossed, right?
Okay.
So
Right. Yeah, he did.
From when?
from that game against Miller, didn't he get tossed?
No, he got a 5-minute major, but
Oh.
he stayed in the game.
Yeah, not that game. Yeah, he did not get tossed in that game.
All right, so he should have been tossed. I agree with that.
Oh yeah, no, he should have been tossed for sure, but he didn't.
Well, it's just like it's really bizarre how this comes back down to, I think, we talk about Weidman and the referees. The referees this season, I've noticed that the game goes either one of two ways. They either have complete control of it, and at the first sign of danger, they toss a guy, or they let it slide, and the game gets just totally out of hand. And then it's like, okay, what do you penalize? What do you let slide? And it's just this really bizarre thing this year where it's all or nothing with these referees for whatever reason.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree, and you can almost tell within the first 5 minutes of a game which way that's going too.
Yeah, they stop it at the beginning and they start calling penalty after penalty after penalty, or like Ty said, they let it go and then they don't do anything for like a period and a half.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then by that point it's too late. Somebody's already been hurt, or the game has already escalated where there's crap after every whistle. Things like that.
Yeah,
How do you guys feel? Am I still the only one who feels that the refereeing changes in the playoffs, even though there's no?
Yes.
oh, there's no question it changed in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I mean, it's better in the playoffs, I think. I mean, who was it the other day? I heard Getzlaf say after the Capitals game, he actually went out of his way to compliment the reffing. It was the first time I've heard it in a long time. He said, the refs did a great job tonight. He said this game was real. They called the ones that had to be called, but they really let us play. The game had a lot of intensity. And he went out. I was kind of nice to hear, which you never hear, but
Well,
Yeah.
Ty wouldn't remember this because he's
11 and a half years old.
There you go. But
he
Russ,
pretends to be young. He's not really.
when we're watching the playoffs in the 80s or maybe even the early 90s, to get a minor penalty in the playoffs, you basically had to have broken a stick over somebody's head.
Yeah, there were muggings everywhere. There was holding.
The overtimes were the best back then. And my gosh, everyone who watched that 3 overtime or the 5 overtime game with the 4 overtime Capitals Islanders game.
Yeah, they called nothing.
That game, they could have killed a man and not got him out. It literally turned. It was half rugby, half hockey, and it was great though because you knew what you were getting into, and at that point it's just every man for himself. I loved it. I think that's great. I can't stand power plays. I can't stand games being ended in overtime on a power play. It's just
I don't mind a power play being called in overtime if it's deserved. Now, of course, if it's overtime, it should be a little worse than if it's during the regular portion of the game. I get that. You should let a little bit more go. But you know what? Sometimes you do have to call a power play in overtime, and I'm okay with it.
But then you get into that thing we got into that I will always say that was the time this whole thing jumped the shark in overtime was the U.S. Canadian women's final in Canada in the Olympics last time, where there was a bad call in overtime, so they called another bad call in overtime, and there was bad makeup, and it was just completely, and it gets to the point where when does it stop? It was like, come on, just let them play, but they had to keep making things up and making things up.
Well,
But,
I mean, there was something like that in the Leafs Islanders game last night where Zach Hyman, one of the Leaf players, was pulling away and got tripped by I think it was Tavares. And they called Tavares for the penalty. They called for the trip, but they also called Hyman for the dive.
right? Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that.
Make up your mind. It's
I mean, it is legitimate though. I talked to referees about that.
dive.
I talked to I forgot the ref's name, but I'll think of it. I talked to him about that one time, and I asked him, and he said, people do get pissed off, and I understand why that does make sense, but it is legitimate. That actually does happen, where guys feel like they're being tripped, and then they have to fall down because if they don't fall down, the penalty won't get called.
Was it Paul Stewart or Kerry Fraser?
No, it wasn't Kerry Fraser. It was Hallerman. Yeah, Dan Hallerman.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And so the Blackhawks, I want to get away from that for a second, because this was an incredible stat that I saw. The Blackhawks, okay, haven't lost a game in regulation when leading after 2 periods. And by the way, I hate that stat more than any other stat in the world when it comes on every time, you know. And my wife is a huge. She says, "What does that mean?" You know, it's like, I guess we should just stop. My wife always says, "Well, I guess we can stop watching the game now."
Yeah.
But the Blackhawks literally haven't lost in regulation when leading after 2 periods since the start of the 2014-15 season. They're 65-0-4.
See, but the problem is the 4. If they were 65-0, I'd be like, you know what? This is unbelievable. But there's the 4. And chances are, if there wasn't the 4 and we played until longer overtimes or ties, it wouldn't be like that. It wouldn't have been.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and you're right, but then, I mean, I'm not. And then someone brought up the Rangers have like a ridiculous record this way too.
They do, but somehow they still lose in the playoffs. Like, to me, it's just like whatever.
The Rangers are 174-2-9 leading after 2 periods.
The 9 the 9 is the part that really kind of throws it, because how early into it would have been like it doesn't matter for the Rangers because they had the 2, but for the Blackhawks, what if one of those overtime wins would have happened in like the 5th game? Then you wouldn't have this grandiose stat, you know, like.
But doesn't it come back down to the overall point that these guys are the best closers in the game?
Yeah, I mean, that's what it comes down to.
Because I think that there's something to be said for being one of those teams. And with New York, it comes down to great goaltending more often than not. And Chicago, it comes back to just a complete offense and a complete 5-man unit on the ice at all times. But I think that
this shootout era hurts stats though, because like now, because of the shootout, and you get that shootout win or loss, instead of it going to a longer overtime, you might have racked up a few more losses, and then we wouldn't be talking about it the same way. They'd still be great goalies, don't get me wrong, but this is where it's hard to match up goalie stats now from era to era. We no longer can do it. Wins are obstructed too now. It's easier to get wins now.
I just think that that's what makes the difference between a good team and an elite team. It's how you react to having the lead and whether or not you hang on to it, because that's ultimately, when I look at a team, when I look at like the Calgary Flames last year, and everyone's like, oh, look at the Flames, they're the future, I say, well, no, because they had a lot of moments that are improbable in the sense that a lot of comebacks, a lot of late-minute goals, things of that nature, whereas I look at a team like Chicago or New York, a team that if you give them the lead, they don't blow it. They hang on to it, and they find a way to muscle through. The Bruins used to be like this 2 years ago. When they were at their peak, they almost never blew a lead, a 2-goal lead in the 3rd period, anything like that. They hung on. So I that's what separates what I think the true contenders are versus the teams that are just the flash in the pan, that hot season. Colorado was one. Calgary was one. I think the Florida Panthers have kind of been one this year too. So I think that's like a true sign of, okay, this team is what I think a cup caliber team is.
Yeah, I do agree. I like that. I like that a lot. And now this brings me to my next point, because I haven't had you on, Ty, since I wrote that the Boston Bruins would fall out of the playoffs and the Flyers would make it. So that of course was just a week ago.
Right.
And I wrote this because of the Bruins' crazy schedule that they had the rest of the way. And I thought that, and I looked at the Flyers schedule, and I thought, this when push came to shove, the Bruins also not playing any of these teams that they're competing against. I thought all these 3-point games with the Islanders, when the Islanders play the Flyers or the Flyers play the Penguins, or the Islanders play the Penguins, there's 9 games right there. They're 3-point games. I thought that would kill the Bruins. I thought that the Red Wings had the easiest friggin' schedule in the world and still have an incredibly easy schedule the rest of the way. They actually got their hard part of the schedule out of the way with their 2 games in Chicago. But now, all of a sudden, the Bruins and what I think is the best trade deadline acquisition, Lee Stempniak, are just completely, they're tied in first place. What's happening? What's happening? Ty, is this for real, or what do you think's going on here?
I think this is for real in the sense that they finally have an actual guy to put next to Patrice Bergeron's right side. And that has been the problem for almost 2 seasons now. Riley Smith didn't give them much of anything a year ago. Brett Connolly, it wasn't for a lack of trying, but he just wasn't producing the way they need him to. So finally, you put a guy who knows what he's doing, veteran presence, 33-year-old Lee Stempniak, a guy who he really found some offensive touch in New Jersey. Not to say that he didn't have it in years past, but it really seemed like he came into his own, I think, with that ice time. And he wasn't sort of pigeonholed into this 3rd or 4th line role where you're expected to produce on 10 minutes or whatever it may be. Now he gets 15 to 60 minutes a night playing with one of the best centers in the world and playing on the opposite wing of one of the best goal scorers in the NHL this season, third in the league in goals now, and Brad Marchand. So you put him with those guys, and he doesn't have to carry the load, but he is expected to create plays along the walls, be there for the rebounds, things like that, and he has done that for them. And so that's done, wonders for them so far. I would say that John Michael Lyles is another guy who he's not going to be your top 4 guy. He is in the top 4, but he's not the number 2 shutdown defenseman they need. But it does take some of the younger guys like Joe Morrow and Zach Trotman, some players that may not be ready for those minutes just yet. Takes them out of the equation or lessens their workload a bit, so there's not much pressure on them, and that's sort of helped the overall scope of the team. And yeah, I'm with you though. I looked at that schedule. I saw it was Calgary, Chicago, Washington, Florida, and Tampa, and I said they could go 1-4 and be well out of this.
And then following that up with a trip to California to play all 3 California teams. I mean, exactly. That's crazy schedule. I mean, they played the average points at the time I did it. The average points of the teams they were playing was like 75 points, which was like last week, and that was crazy. Versus the Red Wings at the time was like 67 points. So exactly. It was completely, and it felt like. But now, I mean, the Red Wings look like they're in trouble.
Yes.
And they play. I do think there will be a.
I don't know what that was, but I look at. I looked at the Bruins after the Calgary game. It was like 10 out of their next 11 games were against playoff teams.
Yeah.
The one exception is tonight against Carolina. That is the lone non-playoff team that they are going against in the next week and a half, 2 weeks, whatever it may be. So
right.
They're still in the thick of this thing. But what they've done here is that by winning these games, by going 4-0-1 against this insane run of the schedule that they have created a great cushion so that they can go 1-2 on the California trip.
Right.
And they'll take a little bit of a hit, but they're not worrying about being the 10 or the 9 seed. They look like they're in there right now, and this is what wasn't the case last year. Last year they found ways to lose games that they should have won. This year they're finding ways to win games they shouldn't win. So it's sort of evening out if you look at last year versus this year. But what they've done here is they've built this cushion that can allow them for a mini slide of sorts, which I didn't think would be the case when I first looked at this grind that they had coming up in this month.
Yeah, it's really impressive. I mean, it doesn't get easier after California either. It really, right down through it, they barely play any easy teams at all. And like we saw last night, I mean, the Islanders, we talked about it, we predicted it. The Islanders go in and they lose to Toronto after this big run. I mean, they do get a point out of it still, but they lose to Toronto. We said we should have gone to Atlantic City. We should have made a gamble on that one because it was so set up. Like tonight and it's in a similar way for Boston tonight with Carolina. This is a really tough game because they have played nothing but great teams, and then Carolina is a team that's a very annoying team. They can beat a lot. They can beat you. They do remind me of Columbus. They've got good defense. They can do all kinds of things. But Mike, so you don't get any help from the Islanders last night, eh?
Well, I mean, first of all, the news came down after the webcast yesterday that Halak is going to be out for 6 weeks with an injury, with a lower body. They said it's a groin injury, and honestly, I think that Dan is going to be a little upset with what I'm going to have to say. But I think they're done. I don't think that if they don't have Halak, I mean,
wait. So you think they're making the playoffs?
I think they're making the playoffs, but I don't think they'll get by the Rangers if they face the Rangers in the first round. I think they'll make the playoffs. They'll go 500. And Greiss has had a pretty decent year, but I think you needed Halak to be there to be able to succeed in the postseason. I mean, Greiss wasn't totally responsible for the loss last night, but they got a 3-2 lead late in the third on a Ryan Strome goal. And the rebound that he gave up on the William Nylander tying goal was pretty soft. So I mean, for a team, and he's never been a number one before. He's having a really good year, but he's never been a number one, and now he's going to be depended on to be a number one, and that's going to be a serious chink in their armor. So
are you predicting that Greiss will be like Hextall in '94 for the Islanders?
Well, I mean, no. I mean, I think I think Grice will be like Alan Bester for Toronto in 1990. It's I just don't think he's up to the task of being a number one goaltender in a playoff situation.
I don't know. I mean, Grace has been. He's not a rookie. I mean, this guy's been. I don't know what that sounded. Sorry, guys. It must be the chicken. Let's see. Move the chicken over here.
Is it on Russ's phone probably?
Probably on my people. My dog passed away, so people are leaving messages about them.
Oh,
so that's
okay. I'm really sorry again, Russ. That's just awful. So I think I think Grice has a shot. I think he has a shot to pull this through. I was never a big Grice fan in San Jose, but he's played so well. He's been the better goalie this year for the Islanders. I mean, and Halak. The thing about Halak, and this is what I've always liked Halak, and I thought I was one of those that way back when was upset when the Canadians moved him, but
yes.
But and I thought that they should have held on to him. I mean, obviously, price is price. He's not Halak, but I do believe that the one thing that I've heard from countless coaches, and this is what Hitchcock didn't like about him in St. Louis, is not just the injury part of it, but the fact that he is so small that when you play against the bigger teams, he's a problem. Like teams that crashed the net on Halak, and that year that Halak had that incredible run against beat the Capitals, beat the Penguins. Remember that? That won those 2 playoff series. Then comes into Philly, and Philly beats him. But
I mean, Halak was never going to beat out Price in the long run. They could have held on to him longer, but you know what the thing is? He's been great against the Rangers, and so without Halak in there, the Rangers are going to feel like it's a little bit of a vacation and could win in 5. They could.
Yeah. But if you crash the net on Halak, which the Rangers would do in a playoff series, more you can definitely get to him. The Flyers got to him that year, for sure. They got to Halak that year, and you've seen it happen. This is why Hitchcock was afraid of him. This is why Hitchcock was because Hitchcock was I remember the funny thing about this is Hitchcock was the coach in Philly that year, and said to me right before that series, he's like, well, I'm not worried at all about Halak because the Capitals and the Rangers, the Capitals and the Penguins before refused to go to the net. They tried to score these pretty goals, and Halak was going to make saves all day long.
And Grice is also small. He's not a big goaltender, and the Leafs did that last night. Komarov and other guys were going to the front of the net, and you have to be concerned if you're the Islanders because now I don't even know who it's a JS or JF Berube is your backup goaltender. So all the weight, everything is on Grice. Now they played. I think it was their 3rd game in 4 nights. And Toronto was relatively fresh, so I mean that was a contributing factor. But those are points that you need to put away, and they didn't. So I'm a little worried about the Islanders now.
I think it comes back to the point too that most of us expect that first round series to be the Islanders and the Rangers.
Yeah.
And if you're talking Hank against Grice, I mean it's really tough to say that's anything close to a draw.
Yeah.
And that's what it really comes back down to, I think, for a lot of people, myself included. And
yeah.
I've been a big believer in what the Islanders have been doing and have done this season. I really think that you need Halak if you're going to take the Rangers in a 7-game series.
Sure.
Right.
Now 6 weeks puts him into the playoffs, right? I mean,
that's after the first round. It's got to be.
Yeah, I mean that's trouble because you definitely where Halak has been very good has been in the playoffs. He's in the playoffs.
And we're talking about a groin injury for a goaltender who's had chronic groin problems throughout his career. So more than likely, I mean, if he comes back after 6 weeks, he's not going to be 100%, or he's going to be very limited. So I mean, that's just bad news for the Islanders. And then the other,
will Carey Price still be skating?
Well,
yeah, Carey Price is still skating.
Put it down. Why?
I don't get it. I really don't get it. The only thing that makes sense is that he wants to play in the World Cup of Hockey, and he doesn't want the first games that he plays to be.
I think that's exactly what's happening here. I think you nailed it, Mike. I think he wants to play a couple games by the end of the season, so he can sit there and say, so we can say, well, I was healthy, and I played. And because he comes back and just plays for Team Canada, but I think at the end of the day, if I was Montreal, I wouldn't even let him play in the World Cup of Hockey. I would be like, forget it, you're not playing the World Cup of Hockey because we got Holtby anyway. Holtby's a great goalie. Let Holtby play this time around, and you'll be fine.
They have Crawford too.
They have Crawford too. They've got Luongo. They've got plenty of goalies that they could put in there.
The other injury that came out this morning, which it may not be a major player, but here's a team, the Dallas Stars, that if you asked anybody, the area where they needed to bolster before the deadline was defense, and they lose Jason Demers for 6 weeks. And now, that basically negates the acquisition of Chris Russell. Now your area of need at the deadline is still your area of need now, and maybe Russ, they have to call up Julius Honka to give him a chance.
Up today, absolutely.
What was that?
I would call up Julius Honka today. The kid can skate like crazy. He actually plays pretty good defense, and he's an offensive wizard. Like, there's no reason at this point to keep him down in Texas. No way.
And they lost. Now Klingberg's injury was a day-to-day thing. It didn't sound like it was a serious thing. They were just going to make sure he was okay. But if you lose your best defenseman Klingberg, you lose a depth guy in Demers. You may as well have thrown the entire successful season that they had, out the window, because without those guys, they're not going to win. Especially not in that Central Division where they're playing either St. Louis or Chicago in the first round with goaltending that I still think is questionable.
See, Honka could add what Spear did to the Flyers. He could.
Really, that's a tall task.
No, but he has that same kind of ability. He really does. And I'm not saying he's going to get 15 goals or anything, but I'm saying he could add a similar spark to that team.
Yeah, but he's 20, 21 years old. I mean, he's, he has some things still to learn, and they. Go ahead,
he's played overseas. This is his second AHL season. You got to give him a shot.
Well, I mean, the Islanders have been giving Pulak a shot, and he looked pretty good last night. So, maybe it's time. They really don't have many options in terms of going to somebody else, because now that Demers is out, they're going to have to call somebody out.
They can lose the whole season.
Not to bring it back to Boston, but sometimes it's almost better to hide these guys in a weird way. When Torrey Krug came up for the second round against the Rangers knew nothing about him. And
Sure.
You could tell that they were just blown away by what he was doing.
Right.
Where Torrey Krug came up and just blasting away, made Henrik Lundqvist look foolish. And, I don't know if that's... You'd like to get these guys immersed now, especially if you have to play a Chicago or a St. Louis, like you were saying. But if you could almost sneak that guy in and just find him the right minutes to produce, that could really be the X factor in that series. Because we all know that the gap between all those teams is very thin.
You can't sneak him in, though. He's very high profile. Like, everybody knows Julius Honka.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at the NHL level, I feel a lot of these teams, though, they already have other weapons that you already have to worry about. So maybe it's just an under-the-radar kind of thing.
Yeah, I get that. I do.
A couple suspensions came down this afternoon. One, Darnell Nurse suspended 3 games for I guess it was a punching incident with Roman Polak of the Sharks. I didn't see it. I just heard.
Dropped his gloves and punched him in the head or something.
Okay. That one won't have much of an effect because Edmonton is 29th in the league right now. But Colorado loses Gabriel Landeskog for the one that we just saw. 3 games for the cross-check to Simone Dupre. Russ, they're really in tight with Minnesota. I mean, losing Landeskog for 3 games is a big loss.
That's a huge loss. Like, that's something where they're going to have to tighten things up. I mean, it's going to be a rough go for them anyhow, but now they really have to tighten up.
Your captain has to be smarter too. Has to be smarter.
Yeah.
I didn't see a lot of that game. It was apparently was a rather rough and tumble contest, but that could be very big. Now, last night we saw Washington take on the LA Kings. I heard some people say that they think this is a preview of the Stanley Cup. The funny thing is, Russ, I heard people the day before say that the Washington-Anaheim game was the preview of the Stanley Cup. So it's like, could you get some new talking points, please?
Yeah, I'm not ready to say anything's a preview of the Stanley Cup right now because in the East it's really wide open. So it could be, even though I didn't think Boston would even make the playoffs, now that they've made the right move, it could still be them. Like, that's how crazy the NHL is. But guys, I got to run. My phone's going to die.
Okay. Ty, I think the Bruins with their success in the last few weeks. I think they've locked up the playoff spot. But to me, right now, like the advantage in say that Minnesota Colorado battle. We're getting. I think that was Russ. Okay. In that Minnesota Colorado battle, I think the difference is going to be who gets the better goaltending. It's either Varlamov or Dubnyk. And in the East, Philadelphia is in it, but there's still that Dubnyk, or still that Mason Neuwirth thing in Philadelphia. I don't know who the number one is, and I think the other teams, Pittsburgh with Fleury, Detroit with Mrazek, they have the advantage over Philadelphia.
See, my late season bet has been that Philadelphia's going to sneak in and Detroit's going to fall out. Watching Philly right now, I get that vibe. I get that weird sort of 2010-esque feel about them. Yeah. That especially when Voracek's ready, that team's getting even better. I can't look away from Philadelphia right now for whatever reason. I just feel that they have a lot of momentum going their way. And that's who I turn to. I mean, that game against Tampa Bay. I mean, talk about Tampa Bay came in as hot as could be, and Philly just stifled them for 60 minutes. They completely held Tampa Bay to nothing. At one point, I think the Flyers had 30 shots. Tampa Bay had 6.
Yeah, it was.
This is a Tampa Bay team that is always dominant possession-wise. So that was just mind-blowing to me. I think it spoke to that when Philly feels it and they hear the message and it gets through to them, they are a dangerous team.
And they're doing this without Voracek, right? He's still out, right?
Without Voracek, although did you see somebody actually got on him about it on Twitter? They said if Voracek had more heart, he'd play with his walking boot on. Someone wrote that in Voracek's response on Twitter. I won't show you, but it was, "Are you bleeping me?" He responded on Twitter to the guy. I thought it was pretty good of him. No, I mean Voracek will be back soon. He's not that far off. And he's been a great player for them this year, but he hasn't been. This isn't a one-man team. This is really not Voracek's team. Giroux is a bigger factor for sure.
But it's amazing that they're making this run with him out for 3 weeks. I mean, you would think that the loss of one of your two major offensive cogs, that you would not be able to stay in the race, but they've sort of played more of a disciplined defensive style under Hackstall, and they're winning close games.
Well, this weekend's a big one for them. They play Tampa again on Friday night in Tampa, so Tampa's going to want a little bit of revenge of that game, and then they go to the Panthers on Saturday night. So yeah, that's two.
And both those teams are going to be motivated because the race in the Atlantic is so close.
Right, top 3 now is anybody's grab, right? So that's going to be a big one for sure. But yeah, it's going to be fun. Let's do the draft generator before I got to get out of here.
Okay.
And we'll do that. Appreciate it, guys. I think the fumes have gotten to me completely. Starting to see bars. All right, here we go. Man. All right, and then this is so last night. I don't know if you saw this yesterday, Ty, but the Flyers won the draft generator.
I saw it on Instagram. That's what I saw.
I know, isn't it crazy? It was just crazy. So here we go. The winner today. The Arizona Coyotes. That's great.
Oh,
there we go. Austin Matthews returns from the desert. That's what we want. Right, Mike? All right. Next up.
That's what I want.
That's what I want. Winnipeg, followed by Edmonton.
That's hideous.
Yeah. So, yep. The two teams at the top there are forever joined together in some kind of weird way. Arizona and Winnipeg. But yep, that's
Edmonton can't win this. Can we just talk? They just can't. It just can't happen. Yes. We cannot have the Edmonton Oilers win this draft lottery again.
I know. I'm all for fixing it. I'm all for fixing it so it doesn't happen. I don't care. I don't think anyone except for maybe Edmonton would hold it against the NHL if they did that. If they draw the whole ping pong ball thing and it comes up Edmonton, like, let's do it again. I think
this is like 76ers-esque. It just you can't have it.
No. It's and they're meeting. We talked about that yesterday. That the GMs are starting to talk about what they should be doing, which is really they should only be able to win that like once every 3 years. You shouldn't be able to get the top pick.
Yeah.
More than once.
And Shirley's in the corner like, I didn't even start this. I just work here, guys. I didn't.
Yeah, I know. I know. The problem is like they keep drafting the same player. They keep it would just help Edmonton if third would be a good spot for them to pick. Fourth would be a good spot for them to pick. Put them there where they can actually, get Chychrun, get a defenseman, and call it a day. Where they have to take a defenseman.
Here's the thing. The only way they're taking a defenseman, if they finish 29th or 30th, is if they lose the lottery and pick 5th, because the top 4 are forwards. They should trade if they pick in the top 4. They should trade down to 5 or 6, get themselves an extra player, and draft Chychrun or Ulevy, the defenseman. But
maybe
they're not going to do it. They're going to draft the forward, and they're going to keep perpetuating this cycle of.
Perhaps. I mean, I don't know. If they have the 4th pick, I think it's going to be very tempting for them to take a 5th, to skip over. I mean, I know the top 4 are great players, but you got to take the best defenseman if you're them right now, don't you? I mean, come on. It's just, no. You can trade down if you can. If you know someone, sure, of course, you can get him with the 5th pick. If you know someone's going to take that forward, go for it. But
it's funny. You kind of forget how many forwards they've drafted, like in the top with the top pick or like top 4, whatever it is. I sat down with the writer the last Bruins home game, and we just started like how many guys do they have that are number 1 overall? And we were starting to rack our brains. We really couldn't figure out the exact number, but we knew it was way too many.
Yeah, it was way too many. And the ones that aren't number 1 overall, there's some really high picks like Sam Gagner was going back there. He was like third.
I think he was 8th. I think he was 8th overall.
Draisaitl, I think, was 3rd overall or 4th.
Draisaitl was 3rd overall. A lot of people thought he was he could have gone. His stock kept rising as he got to the draft. People were saying he could go 2nd. So
I mean, Eberle was I think I think he was in the 20s actually. I think he was lower.
Wasn't Cogliano pretty high too? I mean, there was some.
He was a 1st-round pick, I think.
Yeah, there were some really. I mean, they've had 1st-round picks that they've already traded. Yeah. That are playing on other teams now.
And Clefbaum and Nurse were 1st-round picks too.
Yeah, they were later 1st-round picks.
Yeah, I mean, you got to fix the system, of course.
Yeah.
But it's just you look at the possibility of Edmonton getting Matthews, and if they get the number one overall pick, they'd be stupid not to take Matthews, but then you go, okay, so now they have McDavid, Nugent-Hopkins, Matthews, Hall, Yakupov. At a certain point, enough is enough,
Yeah, I mean, at some point, I mean, the theory is, I'm talking to scouts, at some point, players who dominate in juniors will dominate in the NHL. It's just a matter of when. So that's what they always say. But when you put them all together, I think that lessens all of them. I think there's only so much puck to go around, and it feels like these guys are completely limited. Mike, what are you going to say?
No, I was basically going to say there's only one puck.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
Yeah, and that's it, right? So what do we think of the Team Europe shirts? I'm wearing the Team Europe shirt from the World Cup of Hockey. What do we think of this logo? At first, I thought it was pretty horrible. But the more I think about it, it's such a weird throwback to the 70s in a way. It does feel European to me.
Yeah, my inner Mr. Blackwell gives it a thumbs down.
Looks like you're wearing a Facebook shirt.
Yeah, a Facebook
it's like LinkedIn
shirt.
And Facebook became one website, and that's their logo.
That's hilarious. Yeah, you're right.
So I don't know. I mean, the things I like the North American ones for the young guys.
I got that one too. I'm gonna wear that one tomorrow. I got that one.
Yeah.
That one's cool. That one looks a little bit like a Yes album cover, though. I was saying.
I mean, I don't know. You know what I'm excited about? Like out of all those, I'm excited for Sweden.
Yeah.
That's like a nice throwback to what I expect Sweden to wear.
They have the best international jerseys in the world.
Always.
I mean, I own 2 of them. The jersey I play open hockey with is the gold version of Sweden's jersey, and it's just to me that's been the jersey I've worn in media games, NHL and stuff like that. So yeah, it's just that they have the best, and their purple one is the purple one's, and they look great live. Like when I was at the Olympics, you see the jerseys one way on TV, but then you're actually there, and I watched Sweden play against Finland, and Finland's got cool jerseys too, but to see those 2 teams go against each other live, their jerseys just look fantastic. They really do. So I'm with you on that one. I actually think this is the best Canada jersey they've had in a long time.
I agree. I think it looks very good, very stylish.
Yeah.
It's got a cool throwback thing to like my favorite Canada jersey, which is like the Paul Henderson Canada jersey. The big white
The half of the leaf.
I love that. I thought that was the coolest jersey ever. But this has elements of that. It has the sleeves from that jersey. But like the Red Wings the Red Wings outdoor game jersey this year was phenomenal. That was awesome.
I actually had a question about the World Cup of Hockey because you guys are into it way more than I am.
Yep.
Can players that are not in the NHL or the AHL be in this tournament?
They've held off on inviting the KHL players, but I know that a couple from the Czech Republic team were from the KHL. The Russians are waiting until after the KHL season is over with to add the KHL players.
Yeah, they definitely.
Yeah, because that was my question, because when Russia announced their roster, I couldn't help but notice there was no Radulov or Kovalchuk.
Yeah, and like for example, the defenseman that the Leafs are reportedly going to sign, Nikita Zaitsev, he's playing in the KHL playoffs right now, and he's probably going to sign with the Leafs. I think it's after May 1st when they can sign him. Apparently, that's once he signs with an NHL team, they could then name him. But they're waiting until after the KHL playoffs.
There will be KHL players playing the World Cup.
Yes.
It's not exclusively an NHL thing.
And this ties into my next question, or my next thought.
Yeah.
Because the tournament will be taking place typically when EA releases their NHL game for that year.
Yeah.
Will these rosters, because the NHL games do not have the KHL in there right now, I don't believe. Will these players, will they have these World Cup teams in this video game?
So.
I think that would be a big key for them, for the overall success, if the kids could play as these countries.
Yeah, no, I agree. I do agree. And they'll have to do something with it, or just even I mean, hopefully they just put it in the regular game. I know sometimes I've heard rumors that they might release a World Cup of Hockey game version of it, but I like when they put them in the regular game. There are Russian players now, because when I was doing the original 6 thing where Kovalchuk was in there, I had to put him on a team. I did find him. There are KHL, there are Russian players on there, but not all of them. There's a Russian team that has like certain players on it.
Okay. Yeah, because I think that speaks to the overall. I think you'd want all the players from all the leagues in this tournament to make it a better tournament. Totally. But also, I think if you want to get the people buzzed about this and actually caring about it more than the Olympics, why should they care more? Well, if you put them in the video game, the kids will play it. Yeah, and the people will play it, and it'll actually, if you play it online, it'll be a lot more fun. People would be more apt to watch, I find, personally.
Totally agree. Definitely, for sure. That's all the time we have for today, guys. Remember, without the buzz, it is just hockey. We will see you again tomorrow. Have a good day.